Man Ray, a famous American surrealism photographer, was born in Philadelphia on August 27, 1890. His family then relocated to Brooklyn, New York City when he was 7 years old in 1897. In the beginning of his career, he stayed in New York City while exploring an interest in illustration and design, and was then exposed to the modern art scene in New York City. However, he did not believe that surrealism and the Dada movement could not thrive in New York City. So he then moved to Paris, France in 1921 for more artistic opportunities, following his fellow artist friend Marcel Duchamp. He then left Paris in 1940 due to World War II and Nazi occupation in Paris, and then moved back in 1951. But between the time 1940 to 1951, he lived in Los Angeles. He then stayed in Paris until his death, and died November 18th, 1976. Man Ray never went to school for photography. He was more interested in illustration and traditional art mediums growing up. After high school, he had plans to pursue being an artist in illustration and painting. His only schooling was high school. He did not pursue a higher education. Alfred Stieglitz, another American photographer and founder of famous galleries in New York City, the most famous one, 219, helped and advocated for Man Ray as an artist, allowing him to be exposed to modern art at the gallery and to gain patrons. Stieglitz often photographed very frequent comers to the gallery, and he first exposed photography to Man Ray around 1915, taking his portrait. After his first few exhibitions in 1915, Man Ray obtained his first camera in 1916 to document his exhibitions and work for future catalogs. He took up photography as a means to keep record of his paintings and to reproduce his own work.
Man Ray was exceptionally experimental over the course of his career. Other than photography, Man Ray also experimented with film, sculpture, and traditional painting. His work was unique in how he was always trying to innovate and experiment to create new production and processing techniques. Since Man Ray began his art career as a painter, he already worked in other mediums and was used to artistic experimentation. One method he fell in love with was the rayograph, which is a photographic method of inverting black and white film using in-camera techniques that he and another artist created. Here are some of Man Ray's most well-known art pieces that are not photographs. Rope Dancer accompanies herself with her shadows, a 1972 painting inspired by tightrope dancers. Object to be Destroyed, a 1923 sculpture that was actually destroyed. And The Kiss, one of Man Ray's rayographs from 1922.
During the 1920s, Surrealism emerged in Europe as a response to the trauma of World War One. Surrealists sought to separate imagination from societal norms, so for Man Ray he turned to photography for expressing his concerns during this decade as well as his definition of photography. Man Ray was able to explore and push creative boundaries, especially when he used the solarization process in his work. He was able to blur the lines between the real and the imagined through his dreamlike and visually compelling imagery. His work is the basis of many principles of surrealism due to his techniques, experimentation with composition, and creativity.
Man Ray's most iconic works and why they stand out. These two pieces, Le Violon Ingress and Glass Tears, are probably Man Ray's most famous work because they show everything that makes his art stand out. In the violin ingress, he turned a woman back into a violin, which looks elegant but also ironic. He literally painted the violin holes on the photo, mixing photography with painting. It's kind of make fun of how women were often seen that art object. And that idea is really stuck with people. And the second, glass tears, on the other hand, shows woman face with a fake glass tear is not super emotional, but it's all fake, and that's the point. Man Rays wanted people to question what is real and what's performed in photography. Both of these images become iconic because they are broad, emotional, and little strange. Even after almost 100 years, they still look modern, look something you could see in fashion magazine today.
In 1929, Man Ray and his assistant Lee Miller accidentally discover solarization, while working in a darkroom. This happened when a developing photograph is briefly exposed to light, reversing its tones and creating a metallic glowing effect. The result looked both real and dreamlike, giving their photo a surrealist quality. What makes this technique special is that it transforms a simple mistake into an artistic innovation. Man Ray invented rhyograph, a cameraless photograph technique where he placed everyday objects directly on light-sensitive paper and exposed them to light. This process created surreal and abstract images that completely challenged the idea of what photography was supposed to be. By playing with light, shadow, and transparency, he was able to form a dreamlike composition. It was important because it changed how people saw photography, turning everyday objects into creative art.
As a surrealist, Man Ray aimed to make the mundane mystic through Le Violon d'Ingres, while still implicitly embedding social commentary on the roles of women's bodies through a visual pun. Scholars suggest that representing a female nude through an inanimate object often creates a malleable vehicle for, often, homoerotic fantasy. Furthermore, critics such as Rosalind Krauss note that Man Ray's persistence in blurring the line between fantasy and reality by emphasizing the notion of womanly bodies as instruments and vessels of the artist, portraying the gender discrepancies in art, whether or not for personal whim or social commentary. Whilst a number of critics appraise Glass Tears as his abandonment of legibility in favor of the mystery of the paintings themselves. In this instance, the ambiguity of the fabricated glass tears leaves critics debating whether it ridicules the concept of female crocodile tears or scorns those, particularly men, who are drawn to such sentimentalism. Many view this concept as the photographer's ability to manipulate the field to portray the intended message, commentary, or emotion.
Man Ray's work is not only super cool, but his experimentation is inspiring. We admire the way he is able to merge reality and fantasy, as well as express ideas and emotions through various techniques and compositions. He teaches us the importance of pushing boundaries and challenging traditions in order to create something great.